Good morning. Welcome to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Gradick, your host. Delighted to have you with us on this continuance of the Community Voice. And let me get my volumes right. And is that better there? Okay, good. Let me know. Anyway, we're very pleased to have a return appearance today in studio. Max Driver, Chief Ranger for the Georgia Forestry Commission, which serves Carroll, Haralson, Douglas. And we've just learned that it's called Carrollsonville. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's our nickname.
So everybody
it's Carrollsonville.
Make a note, everybody, for the regional commission and all the studies that are going on. It's now deemed Carrollsonville. And we're also very pleased to have in studio a recent grad of Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College, Blake Rainwater, who's a ranger. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And congratulations on your degree.
Thank you.
It comes as no surprise to anybody that's lived around here more than a year that Blake is part of the Rainwater clan from Bowden, Georgia, and so we're proud to have him in studio. Let's kind of jump right into it. I know Max kind of likes to. Let's just get to it.
Let's get to it. I'm all about it. Whatever we want to talk about, we're here to talk about.
And we're gonna have to pay Max for his radio voice because
he does have a good one.
Yeah, it's worth a lot of money. Anyway, well, maybe not a lot, a little bit.
So set up a retirement gig.
Yeah, when I was first getting ready to interview for this job, and he called me, I was like, "This guy sounds like he should be on radio. He's got a great voice."
Yeah, I wish I had a voice like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell us about the current drought conditions in West Georgia, and then we want to talk a little bit about South Georgia too as we get started.
Okay, good deal. So currently, I know watching if you just watch the news. They're still saying possibly could be in a moderate drought here in the West Georgia area, and really in Georgia we always say we're a week to 2 weeks away with no rain with hot temperatures from a drought. Anytime we go 2 weeks without any rain, we are in a drought period. But the drought that we were in, at least for this half of the state, is looking a whole lot better. I would say that we're pretty much out of that drought. We've got some good significant rainfall. We're getting steady rainfall multiple times a week, and our drought index is not all the way in anywhere near the top. So I would say as far as drought conditions here, we're looking pretty good. South Georgia is still relatively dry down there. They really need a storm with a name attached to it that's going to put any significant moisture into the ground down there.
Okay, Blake, how, from a very scientific point of view, how do these drought conditions lend themselves so much to having wildfires?
So the worst part is something that we track through prescribed fire or wildfires is something called KBDI, the Keach-Byram Drought Index. A couple eggheads are the ones who came up with it. Essentially, it measures up to 8 inches into the soil what type of drought conditions we have, right? And what we were seeing, and I saw in South Georgia as well before I came here as a prescribed fire tech, is just long periods of little to no rain. What rain we got was essentially quarter inch or less. And over time, that soil started to slowly dry itself out and began to essentially have no way to reclaim that moisture. So issues that I saw where I was in South Georgia and as well in those fires is that it got so dry, a lot of this fire was essentially burning super hot on the surface as well as underground. So we have issues now, not only is that fire carrying over the surface, also we had spots where it would just essentially might be a month later or less, it might just come out and then start a whole nother fire itself. Especially when you get into a lot of these swamps full of peat moss and whatnot, it'll just start to smolder and all that moss, and it could take, literally months until that actually goes out, or just substantial moisture until it finally actually puts itself out.
It will burn until you get substantial moisture.
Yeah,
it will burn for months at a time.
And it's ridiculous.
We've had fires here that what we call mop up. After we've mopped up the fire, that means we are pretty well certain that fire doesn't have any chance of escaping. That's making sure all the hot spots and everything are knocked down. It's not smoldering anymore. But we have left the mop up time open and continuously gone back to check fires for weeks. The same fire, just going back and checking on it. Something new is smoldering every day.
Max, Blake used the term prescribed burning. What is that?
Prescribed burning is how first off, it's how the earth has maintained itself since the beginning of time. It wasn't a prescribed burn then. Technically, it was a wildfire, but prescribed burning is how we maintain our forest in our region and statewide, and we call it prescribed because we quite literally write a prescription for this piece of land and how to burn it. And it's a whole lot more in depth than just putting fire on the ground and let it burn to that property.
And trying to actually control it within an area.
We can control which direction. I mean, the wind is gonna push the fire in the direction the wind is blowing, but we can control the intensity of that fire in that direction. We can control the heat as it's moving through the stand. And when we're looking at that prescription, we're looking at the weather. And it's also called a controlled burn, as well as a prescribed fire, because we can control within that burn unit, within that fire, we can control that fire. Basically, it's not a wildfire. We're doing it under our conditions, under what we deem safe, so we can control it a lot easier.
So, Blake, from the perspective of forest management, so prescribed burning clears out all of the underbrush?
Yes, sir. So it's essentially just a way to reduce fuel, the most basic objective of it. It really is also best for, over time, trying to create a more healthy forest itself, because, like you said, fire is just a natural system that's been on Earth for a very long time. We've used it as humans even prior to Europeans. The natives use it as well. Really good tool to manage property, but not only just for human use, but for actual forest health and wildlife use. You're creating better forage, so you're essentially clearing out any of these kind of junky shrubs and stuff that aren't very useful for wildlife. You're reducing a lot of tree competition. A lot of our pine species and stuff are completely adapted to having fire on the ground and actually need it to be able to outcompete hardwoods that would actually overgrow and encroach them.
When we hear the term forest management, is that the bulk of forest management is prescribed burning, or is it not?
There's a lot to it. Prescribed burning is probably one of the most major tools we use to manage forest. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot to it. There's logging operations, thinning, even individual
and
tree health.
people hear that and they freak out and they hit the panic button and they think we're that logging and thinning and forest management, that's destroying the forest, and it's not.
It's the best thing for a forest. It's kind of weird. Same thing too is, how does a fire help a forest itself? Like, we think that's burning down everything down. The trees are getting hurt. A lot of our trees are adapted to it. Like, our actual main overstory are adapted to it. And then logging itself is not really a negative to the forest. What we're doing is, especially if you're going in for a thin, which is essentially a thinning, is going in and selecting certain trees you would like to cut down. And as you're reducing these trees in the forest itself, you're kind of reducing the amount of mouths to feed. More trees just means less nutrients overall for each tree. So you're allowing open understory, more sunlight to the ground. That's just helpful for any and every wildlife species.
Max, though, when you've got woods or forests, let's say a property owner, he's got a number of acres, and there's never been prescribed burning, and it's just been like that for hundreds of years, and so all the underbrush, I think in one program you called it duff.
Duff, yes.
Doesn't necessarily mean that the first thing to do is go in and do a prescribed burn, right?
Correct. It can be, and if we are going to go in and do a prescribed burn off the bat, there's a lot of things we have to take into account, especially if it's never been burned before. And a lot of what we're seeing now in these unmanaged forests lend themselves to things like pine beetles and stuff like that. But if you're going into if we're going to do an intro burn, is what we call it. It's the first time this property's been burned. You say back to, I would say 15 years and back, it's never had fire in it. Then the feeder roots of those trees are at the very top of the ground, at the surface level of the duff. So they're not very deep into the ground. If you run what we would call a hot fire through there when it's really dry, we're talking about that drought index being up, it's going to burn everything down to the dirt, to mineral soil, and burn those feeder roots and possibly kill all those trees. But if we can do it under our conditions, where the duff layer underneath the very top is a little bit moist, is still holding a little bit of moisture, conditions are a little bit calmer, we can skim a layer off the top and let those trees dig down a little bit more.
Essentially,
and then we can skim another layer off the top and let the trees dig down
How
a
do
little
you
bit
do
more.
that?
With knowing our weather and our conditions precisely, and knowing how to control the heat within a stand, instead of lighting the fire and let it burn all the way through the stand, one line of fire rush through that stand, what we will do, what we call stripping, we'll light a line off of our break, and then we'll go in about 60 feet and light another one and light another one and light another one. So then by the time those fires build up a little bit of energy, it burns to the next fire, and then burns to the next fire,
And that's when
and burns
you-
to the
yeah,
next fire,
okay.
and doesn't have enough time to build up a ton of energy and create a flame wall to push all the way through the trees. It's just hitting the next fire and hitting the next
And
fire
that's
and
when
burning
you use
itself
the
out.
term the hot fire. That's
Correct.
when it burns all the way one time through.
Correct. We'll run a nice moderate fire through there and just
Golly,
skim
hot
the top
fire,
layer off.
moderate fire. What?
There's a lot of science behind
There's
it.
a lot.
We study weather extensively.
It is
There
probably the number one thing
lot of
that we have
science
to pay
behind
attention to. Like every day, if we're ready to work, whatever day of the week, we're checking our weather every morning. We're checking for conditions and stuff of fuel, whatever winds and whatnot. There's a lot that goes into it, and that's just the weather side. That's not even the specific stand that we're going to be burning that day. Every unit we burn can be completely different to each other. We could have hasn't been burned in 20 years to pine stand that's been burned for 30 plus years now, and is essentially for us is like a walk in the park. Super easy to deal with.
What individuals should be really? Is it a landowner that's got 5 acres, a landowner that's got 50 acres, a landowner that's got 100 or more acres? What landowners do y'all think really need to prioritize doing this kind of land management or forest management?
I would say no one's necessarily more important than the next. We've burned places that were an acre. We burned 500 acres. We got a couple 1,000-acre burns that we're looking at doing this year. But I would say no one's necessarily more important than the next. Just if you're wanting to reintroduce these native species that could possibly be in the seed bed on your property, if you're wanting to thin your property out without too many mechanical means.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt, but
No, you're fine.
but it's also, if you put it all together, you're reducing the fire hazard for
That as well.
for homeowners.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, that's a hugely important thing. That would you rather have this much pine straw catch on fire burning towards your house from a wildfire, or this much pine straw? There's a lot of places that we've done some prescribed burning out in Haralson County and had a wildfire make it up to the spot where we were doing prescribed burn, and you can catch it in there by hand.
Really?
Get off the dozer and catch it by hand, and that because the fuel bed is so thin, where it's piled up over years and years in these other places. So really, I mean, anybody, if you can burn your property off to help maintain it, every couple of years, absolutely recommend it. It's great for it.
Blake, when we had all those California fires, we heard the term forest management a lot, and that forest management out there had not occurred. I mean, is that correct? And that's kind of a different animal because they got all these winds that in the mountains and everything, right?
Yeah, so they're at the extreme of very, very severe winds, like in Los Angeles. It's in a cut in the mountains where you can get extreme standard like 70-mile-per-hour winds, which can carry fire very heavily. Out west, just because we've had wildfires in the past that kind of spooked out a lot of the Forest Service and whatnot. There was a push, obviously, like Smokey the Bear put out any fires you see in the woods and whatnot. We're trying to completely prevent any fires from occurring, but before that, it was always just let it burn and do its thing. Let it burn into a creek, a large river, whatever it was. But now that we saw the lack of fire, and that's 100 plus years now, we're seeing these forests building up so much fuel. And like I said, every system, whether it like is in Georgia, 3 to 5 years sometimes is a good fire rotation or less. Out west, it could be 50 plus before fire is eligible to go through. But now we're building so much unnatural fuel on the ground, it's making what is essentially a catastrophic wildfire, which is an alien term. Catastrophic shouldn't be a term associated with a wildfire. It should just be called a wildfire. Naturally burns to as hot as it's supposed to. But yeah, we're seeing these issues now where because we've had a lack of any forestry management out there, these fires are just ripping and tearing down, thousands and thousands of acres.
Before we go to break, Max, tell us, if someone's interested in having a prescribed burn, how do they get in touch with you?
They can give us a call. They can look up the Georgia Forestry Commission Carroll County office, and we'll plug that number before we get off of air today.
Okay.
And they can call our office, and we'd be more than happy to come out and look at their property and give us the best advice we can on whether or not they should burn that property. And more than likely, we're always going to want to push as much burning as possible.
Do you do it year round, or is certain seasons best?
It's what we call burn season is from October 1st, and it ends on April 1st.
Okay. Yeah, when we come back from the break, I want to delve into that a little more.
Okay.
We'll be back with Max Driver, Chief Ranger, Georgia Forestry Commissioner from Carrollsonville, and Blake Rainwater from Bowden, Georgia. And we'll be back after this.
Imagine a place where every heartbeat is monitored with the utmost care, where emergencies are met with swift attention, and where cutting-edge technology enables precise and timely treatments. At Tanner Health, every patient's journey is a testament to resilience, a story of strength, healing, and hope. We go beyond treatment to redefine what compassionate care truly means. That's Tanner Health. That's care redefined. Learn more at tanner.org.
Good morning. Welcome back to Community Voice. We're very pleased to have in studio Blake Rainwater, Ranger, and Max Driver, Chief Ranger, Georgia Forestry Commission, serving Carroll, Haralson, and Douglas. So between May 1st and October 1st, basically all types of burning is prohibited except for maybe a little stand of leaves. Can you give us the details on that?
Yeah, so burn season from starting October 1st, ending May 1st. I misspoke the last segment, but ending May 1st. From October all the way back around until May, that is when it is legal to burn.
Okay.
You can burn. You don't have to have a permit if you're burning stuff that you piled up by hand. Yard debris, leaves, things like that. If it was piled up by a machine, then you do need a permit. And if it was in Carroll County and Douglas County, if it's for construction purposes, if you're building, you do have to have a ACD, better known as a pit burner, and it has to be permitted as well. Days it's going to be illegal to burn. Days that we will not be issuing permits and that burning will be shut down are going to be red flag days, where the humidity is extremely low and the winds are extremely high.
Aren't there some cutouts for agricultural or?
No, so agriculture burns, if you have more than 5 acres and you're burning for agriculture purposes, we can issue permits in the summertime to burn for the farmers and for agriculture reasons.
Well, y'all are busy then if you have to, permit all. I mean, that's what y'all do. You permit all that, and you quote unquote police it and everything.
There's not a whole lot of burning in the summertime, mainly just farmers burning their piles from cleaning up pastures or garden spots or stuff like that. But the woods don't really burn well in the summertime because the humidity is so high and we get so much rain.
Yeah.
And if it was burning, it would do some damage to the trees with the ambient temperatures up.
Now, if you're a homeowner and you've raked together a bunch of leaves and straw and whatever, and it's a small pile, you've got to keep it away from buildings, right?
Yes, you have to keep it away from the building, away from the wood line, and have a means to put it out.
So what do you
get
recommend?
A water hose to it.
So you recommend a water hose? You recommend a bucket? What do you recommend?
A water hose if you can get to it, but the best thing is make sure you have some dirt around your pile. Be able to put some dirt on your pile. Make sure that you can throw when everything's burned out, throw some dirt on top of it. Don't leave it burning. And the burn ban is not a wildfire burn ban. I think that's a big misconception, that it's due to wildfires in the summertime. We don't have significant wildfires here in the summertime. The burn ban is the EPD's burn ban for air quality because our close proximity to Metro Atlanta. That the burn ban is in effect by the EPD because they want to keep the least amount of pollutants out of the air as possible.
And fires require oxygen. What else?
Oxygen, fuel,
And
and heat.
Or an ignition source, whichever.
Yeah,
Okay.
wherever that comes
A
from.
match.
Yeah.
Something.
Lightning strike, anything like
Something.
that. Yeah.
Okay. So without one of those three, it's not going to happen, right?
That is
you
correct.
You got to have oxygen, you got to have a source, and you got to have an emission, and or fuel rather, rather than source fuel. Tell us about, before we go to our last break, tell us about pine beetles and the role of. Oh my Lord! I'm sorry. I said
fine.
something I shouldn't have.
It is a
That's a scary word
pandemic.
to us.
It is a pandemic.
Well,
at the moment.
we hit upon a sore topic here. So, how do pine beetles and dead trees play into forest management?
A lot.
I think the mismanagement of forest plays more into the dead trees and the pine beetles. What we typically see, pine beetles move through the treetops. The closer your trees are together, the easier it is for them to move from treetop to treetop. These stands of pines that are extremely overgrown and they're packed in really tight allows the beetles to move fairly easy from treetop to treetop. And the beetles are hitting the weakest trees first. And the trees that are more susceptible are the trees that are fighting for nutrients. They're fighting for sunlight because they're all packed in tight together.
Which is, like I had mentioned earlier, opening up your forest is allowing less mouth to feed and whatnot, allowing a healthier forest. Because these beetles are, maybe half the size, fully matured of a rice grain, very small. Completely dependent upon the wind when they move, right? They're very small. So when you compact these forests together, there's no movement of wind. They're essentially it's like essentially just a walk down the road for them to the next tree that they can affect. And then it gets to the point, especially once the females leave the tree and affect another tree, they're releasing pheromones. If there's a wider opening between these trees, that pheromone is going to be completely to the whim of the wind, and that next tree may never even figure out there's another female in this tree, which can then halt their spread. And then, like you said, bad forestry management is compacting all these trees together, making them unhealthy. It's just essentially like ready to go. They're just walking house to house, ready to take down all these trees.
So how do you tell if a pine tree is infested or it's dying?
A great way, the first sign you're typically going to recognize, unless you're going out and examining the trunks of the pine trees every day, is going to be your needles turning brown. When your needles, the needles on the tree, the pine needles, they'll start to turn brown.
Oh, turn brown.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And so then you look up and you're like, I swear those weren't brown yesterday. And we get calls all the time like, I've got 25 dead pine trees now that were not dead a week ago. And the beetles do move fast. But pay attention, see if your needles are turning brown, and then when you walk up to the tree, they look like little tiny balls of popcorn. We call them pitch tubes. They're like resin and sawdust that the tree is projecting out trying to protect itself.
Trying to expel the beetles
But
out.
you can see it looks like the tree's covered in popcorn. And you can look through your stand and see as the spot that the beetles have hit, there'll be those all over the trees. There'll be some sawdust on the at the base of the tree on the forest floor, and then you can still, as you keep walking, tell if your spot is active. If you're seeing green needles on the ground, and you can see these popcorn balls in trees that have green tops. They look perfectly healthy. Unfortunately, those trees are dead. They just don't know it yet. But
And the only treatment is back to prescribed burning.
that's not necessarily a treatment. It is more of a preventative measure, and it's not 100% guaranteed. We've seen stands that we've been burning regularly for years that have got a little bit of pine beetles, but it seems like the overall trend is a managed forest that's been burned for a while. It doesn't have as much pine beetle damage.
And West Georgia's got a pretty high incidence of pine beetle infestation.
Massive. Carroll and Haralson counties have got it worse
Number
than just
one in
about
the state
anybody
right
in the
now
state.
We're number one.
outbreaks around now.
Blake just got up in the airplane last week and flew and marked all kinds of beetle spots across the counties.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
And he'll be going back flying in the next
At
couple
some
of weeks or
point,
so.
yeah, a couple of
But
weeks.
we do have maps of all these pine beetle spots all over the area.
Because the Forestry Service has their own set of airplanes, as I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Georgia Forestry Commission, we have multiple aircraft, from spotter planes to helicopters for water suppression to planes for water suppression.
We're going to have to take our next break. We'll come back and wrap it up, and we'll give contact information after these words.
Imagine a place where every heartbeat is monitored with the utmost care, where emergencies are met with swift attention, and where cutting-edge technology enables precise and timely treatments. At Tanner Health, every patient's journey is a testament to resilience, a story of strength, healing, and hope. We go beyond treatment to redefine what compassionate care truly means. That's Tanner Health. That's care redefined. Learn more at tanner.org.
Welcome back to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Raddick, your host. We were on Facebook Live this morning. You can watch us there or on our YouTube channel. And we again want to thank Blake Rainwater from Bowden, Georgia, and Max Driver, Chief Ranger, for coming in this morning. I have other topics. We could talk about this for a long time. But if somebody's interested in prescribed burning or has any further questions, how should they go about reaching you? And we've only got about a minute or so, a couple minutes. I assume there's a little bit of a cost for getting y'all out there and doing prescribed burning.
There is, and we can give them a cost breakdown.
Okay.
And it is the most ineffective, or the most cost effective way
Okay.
to maintain your property by all means. And our office phone number, if you're looking to get this set up, give us a call at 770-836-6715.
Okay, and the office is on Old Noonan Road.
It is. It's right. We could walk to it from right here.
Well, you could. I'm too lazy. Somebody drive me over there. Anyway, and y'all are there, I assume, when you're not out fighting fires.
When we're not out fighting fires or starting fires,
Holy moly.
we're typically there, and So, and I'd like before we get off the air, to just encourage everybody, keep us, these guys, in your thoughts and prayers throughout the summertime. We go nationwide to help fight fires wherever fires are at.
And there is an element of danger in
It is, and we've got Ori Garrett. He's our other ranger in the office. He should be returning home today, hopefully, from Oregon. He's been in Oregon with our state incident management team, working hard for the last 2 weeks, and he was already in Colorado before that with the incident management team. So just doing great work out there.
Our thanks to Max and Blake for coming in. Thank you for listening. Go out and make it a great day. You're in tune to WLBB Carrollton.